We're going to go to Tom next, who is a campus administrator at the Wasatch campus of Utah Valley University, and he has a question about the national debt. Tom, you're on the line with Senator Lee.
Hello, Tom.
Okay, thank you. Hi, Senator Lee. How are you?
Doing great. Thank you, sir.
Listen, I personally think that the single greatest threat to the existence of this country is this national debt that we've racked up. And I went online and just looked, and just the interest on the debt in 2015 was $400 billion. And every politician I listen to in both parties indicates that they have a 10-year plan where we're going to balance the budget. And with unfunded liabilities at the level where we have, provided we get a conservative president in November of this year, what ideas do you have how we could start balancing that budget sooner and not wait 10 years? And if we don't get this under control, it's going to undermine our currency, and that affects our retirements and everything else.
I agree, Tom, and I appreciate your question. You know, just a few years ago, some of our top military officials came out and echoed what you just said, and they described this as perhaps one of the greatest threats to our national security. Was our unsustainable debt trajectory. The primary problem that we have in addressing our debt involves economic growth. Without a vibrant, growing economy, we'll be unable to reduce our debt burden. We've got to have a combination of government reforms that involve cuts, but even those cuts, no matter how aggressive they are, won't be enough without aggressive pro-growth policies put in place. So we need pro-growth tax reform and regulatory reform to revitalize our economy. And we'll also need to reform Social Security and Medicare in ways that will make those sustainable over the long haul, so that we can save them and make them available for future generations. And then, you know, the expansion of the federal government has to be stopped. We've got this perpetual mission creep that has been moving now for close to a century. And we've seen the debt ceiling deal that was cut in 2011 get rewritten over and over again. We've seen it gutted. Congress has to have the will to control spending, and that's what I've been fighting for ever since I've been in the Senate. And it's interesting, you point out that a lot of politicians have a 10-year plan. I'm one of a few members of Congress who has actually introduced my own budget. I introduced one a few years ago that would have brought us to balance within 5 years. And I have supported other measures that would also get us there in 5 years. But we do have to move forward. Again, it has to involve both making cuts and making decisions that are pro-growth. Our regulatory costs, the cost of the federal regulatory system, for example, imposes $2 trillion of costs on the American economy every year. This is borne disproportionately by poor and middle-class Americans, not by really wealthy individuals or big fat cat corporations. These are borne by hardworking moms and dads throughout Utah and across the country who pay higher prices for everything they buy. And they also pay for it in terms of diminished wages and unemployment, and in some cases underemployment. That's one of the reasons why I've co-sponsored the REINS Act. That stands for Regulations from the Executive in Need of Scrutiny, that would help us have some control over the regulatory process that is imposing so many costs on our economy and restricting economic growth. It's another reason why I've been developing a regulatory budget legislative proposal that would require Congress to limit each year the amount of regulatory costs it imposes on the federal government. Finally, Tom, I would add that I've long been a supporter of the Balanced Budget Amendment. I was one of the lead authors and draftsmen of the Balanced Budget Amendment proposal that Senate Republicans have been supporting over the last 5 years. And it would move the goalposts, so to speak, making it more difficult for Congress to take on additional debt, requiring a supermajority threshold vote every time we want to increase the debt ceiling or spend more than we take in any given year. I'll keep fighting for these things as long as I'm in the United States Senate, and I thank you for your question, Tom.